Yeah, there you go. So, okay.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah. All right. So, Zufa's first real big signing is Jai Opetaia. And, for the critics out there, they would say, real big, what do you mean? Opetaia is not, he's a lineal cruiserweight champion, but he's not some huge ticket seller. He's not some huge draw. So, what do you mean big? Well, what I mean is they got a lineal elite level fighter champion in his prime. So that's their first legit signing, I think. Jai Opetaia. No disrespect to Ife Ajagba, Rayo Valenzuela, and a number of others who have competed on a world level. Rayo was a former champ, but anyways, Jai Opetaia is their first biggest signing, and we'll get to that in a minute. But people were saying, "What's he talking about? We look forward to unifications. How are you going to unify when Zufa is only going to have their one belt?" So I bring to you, I think the real play behind signing a Jai Opetaia is getting David Benavidez, who has shown loyalty to Al Heyman and PBC, even though he tried to leave them once upon a time to make a fight with Zurdo Ramirez, who he's fighting in May, to fight for Bob Arum and Top Rank. He couldn't get out of that. He has a lot more leverage now. I do not know his contract situation, but PBC may be losing out. Look, they had to send him to Turkey last November for the Anthony Yard fight. They may lose out on the broadcast. Now, this is different because unlike Garcia Barrios, they have the A side. They have the draw. Whereas Oscar had the draw and he chose to bend the knee to Turkey and DAZN. He may not be able to make that call for a Zurdo Benavidez fight. But if Turkey's willing to give the money to that fight and Benavidez says, I want a bigger slice of the pie, I want more money, then you go ahead and you sell the fight out to Turkey, right? So if you're Zufa, and what you can't lose in this, I'm going to make it the thumbnail, is Dana White was nice to a young, chubby David Benavidez once upon a time before he was worth a single cent in the professional boxing ranks. Some people remember that. I think David's the kind of guy who does. He's always had a respect and an affinity for Dana White. If you're looking for your first true face of the company, what you tell David Benavidez is, look, they couldn't get you Canelo at 68. Turkey didn't give you Bivol at 75. You come here and you sign with us. You get the man. You get Jai Opetaia, the lineal champion, your first fight with us. And if you win, you are the star and the champion that you've deserved to be for years now. And you could be the Mexican monster face of the fucking company in your prime. So, yeah, Opetaia is a really good signing, but I think the real play, if they're smart, and they are, get David Benavidez in the ring with Jai Opetaia.
It's about narrative. What do those two guys have in common? What does the average boxing fan know about both of their plights? Unable to get the fights that they should have when they should get them. They are unable to become undisputed, unable to put that big superstar matchup together. No matter who you want to blame, the fighters who won't fight them, the promoters that won't make it. It's certainly not a network issue, so we can't even pretend like it's that. But ultimately, what Zufa will be and should be their strategy is that they are a place for the nobody wants them club, but everybody knows they are the champion. There's so many belts. There is the Max Kellerman adage that there's all these belt holders and only one champion. Zufa wants to be the outfit with that one champion. Zufa wants to be the place where you can go when boxing fails you so that they can keep driving this narrative that boxing is broken and it only works in this system of Zufa. That the guys who can't get the fights that they're supposed to get can come here and be the superstars that they're meant to be. And as they continue to filter people into this system that have that grudge, that are being dealt with egregiously in the four belt system, they can build champions that can then be lineal champions and never fight outside the system. So never be challenged by these very same guys that they wanted to fight. It turns the hunter into the hunted, and the hunted has a house with a door and a lock on it. And what a good feeling it'll be for them to be able to be like, you had your chance to fight me. You wouldn't do it. Now I'm over here. And if you want to fight me, you got to come over here. into this system. And then you could get the fight if they're willing to even let you in now. They can be king of their own castle, and they can be always having claim to that lineal championship. You've seen Tyson Fury do it even through retirement a dozen times, even through not defending the belts that he got from Klitschko, but always able to claim until he lost to Usyk that he, in fact, is the lineal heavyweight champion. Expect that narrative to be promoted in Zuffa. They get these guys, they are the man to beat. Doesn't matter who's got the belt, this is the guy to beat. And if Zuffa's got the guy to beat, then everybody holding a belt is really second best at best.
Yeah, I mean they got the guy to beat in the cruiserweight division, but
That's what I'm saying. I think they're going to try to replicate that as many times as possible.
the real prize would be to get Benavidez to fight the lineal champion for sure. And a good question would be, well, how does that work pay wise? And this is why Bob Arum said getting into boxing could get them caught up, because if you'd have to pay Benavidez, who's making a lot of fucking money, doing the fights he's doing, whether it's Turkey or even when he's eating what he kills at this point, because he's a legit draw. He's a multi-million-dollar fighter now. He's a legit guy in that regard. May not be Canelo level or something like that, but he's bringing some asses to seats and some eyeballs to the screen. If you wind up paying a guy like Benavidez, now these fighters that keep taking you to court in MMA, they have a legal precedent to say, aha, so you can pay fighters something like this. Why can't you pay me? Hey, we've talked a lot about that. That aside, I'll give you the next level play, the next push, the next level play. You said Benavidez will be a heavyweight one day. I said, I don't know, man. But Bivol, Beterbiev, light heavyweight, cruiserweight, sure. Heavyweight, I don't know. I mean, no one's believed in Benavidez more than me over the years, but I don't know. Jim Lampley has agreed with you. Jim Lampley, I shared it on social media, thinks Benavidez could potentially beat Usyk one day. Now, a lot of purists and people that know the sport scoff at that, and I understand why. Usyk's bigger. Usyk is not only bigger, he has better feet than Benavidez, etc., right? But I may respect Radio Raheem and Jim Lampley more than the whole field, and I think I do. So I take what you guys say very seriously, and Benavidez wouldn't have to worry about cutting weight anymore, which could be weakening him and taking away from his power in some of these weight classes at times. And Benavidez says after this Zurdo fight, I could get back down to light heavyweight. I don't know, man. Ask Roy Jones. That's a precarious proposition, dropping from 200 back to 75. What if, because I visit boxing with Ed Pereira, which is another video we will be having after this one, but all the rumors were going along. I thought there was smoke there. There's San Francisco trying to break the all-time attendance record, all this talk. His press conference in San Francisco came and went with very little to any media coverage. Now, the New York Times to ESPN are reporting he may get Wilder Usyk. But his presser in San Francisco came and went, and no Wilder Usyk. What if Zufa gets Oleksandr Usyk, the lineal heavyweight champion? And what if they tell Benavidez, look, you get Opetaia, you could get through Opetaia. They may not even call it their cruiserweight Zufa belt. Maybe their cruiserweight is light heavyweight, and they call it the light heavyweight title. Maybe they make up their own fucking weight classes, and they don't, because there are too many of them, most people would say, at 17. There was only 8 once upon a time. Maybe they take it back to the OG8. Maybe light heavyweight is cruiserweight in today's era. Anyway, that's another one for another day. But what if the big play is bring in Usyk for the Wilder fight and then make the winners of Opetaia Benavidez fight the winner of Usyk Wilder? And you get Benavidez fighting for the heavyweight title like you and Jim Lampley have prognosticated.
Yeah, I mean, that is the formula, right? Now, it's not that Usyk can't find in the fights that he wants, but he can't find the fighter that he wants to fight. He's done, as what they have said, he's completed boxing, right?
Yeah.
At least in the 4-belt system. So let's see if he can complete boxing in this brand new Zuffa system. Let's put him in a silo and force anybody of those ilk that want to fight him to cross over, if they even can contractually. Really, that helps Turkey bust up even more the relationship between promoters and fighters. if fighters are able to now kind of freewheel it and fight where they want to fight, and maybe Zuffa is willing to, I don't know. They say the fighters who signed to Zuffa can't fight outside the system, but I'm not steeped in the red legislation. Does it also say that a fighter outside the system can't fight in the system for a one-off? I don't know. Maybe you know more about the
Well,
legislation
they
than
haven't
I do.
passed it yet, for one. I think they
Right, but
thought
what
they
they're
would, but you
proposing
had
to
some
do.
people, make us think about it that may have made the process play out longer than they expected. But go on.
Mm.
Yeah.
I just think there's a few ways to skin this chicken. And
Yeah.
so,
You got Turkey pay for the opponent. Say they do a Kabial fight. All right, Turkey, you pay for Kabial's purse. We'll pay for Usyk, and sure, you got a fight on Zuffa Boxing.
mhm, and that's what I mean by them being all connected, right?
Yeah.
That's not possible if they are really complete rivals and competing with each other like HBO and Showtime were, we know the cases in which HBO and Showtime worked together, but they had to have fights of that magnitude that they try to do every which possible way until there was just no other option than to work together. But that's not going to be the case with Ring and Zufa. And they're going to collaborate. They're going to do what's best for both of them as long as they are in cahoots. And I don't see that not being the case for any time soon. So yeah, that's part kind of like of the monopoly is Exxon 76 and Shell all having the same gas prices in the same neighborhood. Well, yeah, okay. They're rival companies, but they're all in the gas business and they are fixing the prices. That is also part of monopoly capitalism, right? Oh, yeah, you can choose, but in reality, they've already got a deal running and your choice is really just on branding. It's really what it is that the color that you like your pump to be.
Do you think this thought that's crossed our head about Benavidez actually happens? It's hard to say.
I think that's a real possibility. I want to see who and how many signings start coming now that they're starting to stack up. If this Usyk thing is real, like I'm not sure yet. I don't know because there's enough going on in the cruiserweight division without Benavidez that Opetaia is still king there, can still make that play and really boxes out because there is no other cruiserweight champion that people really are picking against Opetaia. There's not even a pick'em cruiserweight champion. They're just, anybody in boxing will tell you Opetaia is the best cruiserweight, and everybody else really is competing for second best. So since he's king, then him taking himself out of the four belt equation screws them. He leaves them to fight that out, and ultimately, I think that works if they're patient over at Zufa. Feed Opetaia has proven he's willing to fight in Australia. Not they're nobodies, but no belt. They're not. He's not. Unifying out there. He's fighting guys that just he might be one of these fighters that if you brand him right, you present the product properly, that you just enjoy watching beat guys. And for a little while, maybe you might watch these guys beat guys you don't know in productions that are entertaining and wait for somebody outside the system to get to the level where they need to fight the man, the lineal champion, the real champion, while they're just a belt holder enough to come inside the system. And you build like that. Like, yeah, I don't know. I won't pretend to know what plans they have laid, but what I'm seeing as sure of is they have taken the disgruntled, they are taking the lineal champions, they are taking the guys who are seen as the real champions, either in the sunset of their careers or at the time when there's nobody really rivaling them, and locking them up and claiming that they've got the real champion inside the system. And now what are you going to do?
Yeah, again, just to close how as it pertains to Benavidez, look, Heyman's smart. He'd be harder to ever get in court like De La Hoya and make him take an L and technically he's not his promoter. He's his advisor. His promoter is Samson, who Benavidez is loyal to and has been with from the start. But if Gervonta Davis may be going to jail soon in the coming days or weeks. Benavidez and Gervonta are their two foundational pieces. And if Tank's on the way out and you're struggling to fill dates with Amazon, which they are, and you don't have any real alternative opponents for Benavidez, I could see a situation where if they don't let Benavidez, if he wants to make that move and fight an Opetaia, there could be a lawsuit between Benavidez and Sampson. Not necessarily Al, because Al would, hey, I'm an advisor anyways. That's how I get my cut. That's my relationship with him. I'm not technically his promoter anyway. So Benavidez could do the Zufa fight and still have Al Heyman on board. So you would hope it doesn't get ugly like that. Sampson may have to and Sampson has been stringent against Turkey, but he was stringent against Turkey, and then Benavidez headlined in Riyadh last November against Yard. It'll just be interesting to see how it play out. I think it'll ultimately fall on David, who has worked himself into a position as an elite fighter to have the leverage, contracts or not, to to do what he's going to want to do. And I think if they try to get in the way of that, they could have an Oscar Virgil situation potentially, or unfortunately for David, he'll just have some mouths to feed if he makes that move. He'll have to split his money up a few ways, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's where we're headed. Because again, you got ducked by Canelo at 68. You got ducked by Bivol to a lesser extent, not as egregious as Canelo, who had years to make that fight. But he vacated instead of gave you the fight, and Turkey shot it down. Come to death row, as you said to me on the phone yesterday. So we'll see.
You don't want your promoter all up in the videos.
Yeah. Right. Well, but he's gonna be all up in the. I mean, he is the video. He's not Diddy dancing in the background. He has his own album out. Like he's on the album cover. But yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Same thought. Just different.
He's Harold Melvin of the Blue Notes.
All right, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I only know it from the Snoop Dogg Doggy Dog
that's
World
what I'm
intro.
referencing.
Yeah, that's yeah. Is that what he says? Harold Melvin without the blue nose, you'll never go platinum.
He said B word. You're like what do you say? Like you're like Harold Melvin without the blue nose, but you'll never go platinum. In other words, what I'm saying is the fighters are the real substance, but Harold Melvin was the worst singer in the Blue Note in the band. Is really Teddy Pendergrass, and until Teddy got an opportunity to sing without Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, he went out there on his own, and people realized that he was the voice on the record for real.
Right.
He was never the star until he was, and then Harold Melvin was out the picture. This is a funny analogy, but the truth is, it's like Dana's the whiz. He's the guy behind the curtain. Obviously, he ain't doing the fighting, but you can tell from that promo, he is the show. It is his vision that's on display, and the fighters are the workers.
He would know how to market a Mexican monster. He marketed Brock.
100%.
Yeah, he would know how to do that. Yeah.
Yes. But he would know how to do it in a way where Zufa retains the brand and cachet for having presented the Mexican monster. And when that monster retires or goes away, the history of him having fought will be benefited from Zufa. There is an entity that exists that now can be credited with that Mexican monster's career and all the fights that he had there. And that torch can be passed to whomever beats that guy or whoever comes up after that guy in that division. That is the attraction of having a controlled system where you can have one champion beat another, and you know the lineage, hence lineal champion.
Yeah, David, I know you don't need me to tell you this, but you do what you got to do, champ, all right? You look out for yourself out there, all right? And I know you will, so you do what you got to do.